Welcome to the Weekly Hijack.
Hello, all you peepsals.
All you peepsals?
Yes.
Okay, then.
So, once upon a time tonight.
First episode, well, we've got two of them tonight for whatever reason.
Twice upon a time.
Twice upon a time. The first episode is Birth.
Birth. So, there's a lot of crazy stuff in this episode.
Big deal in terms of why Emma became the Dark One. And basically wraps up, I think we know pretty much the entire Camelot. Well, we could be wrong, but we know at least a lot of the important stuff about what happened in Camelot now. And as we predicted, Emma did have a greater purpose.
Yes.
For what she was doing.
Twisted, but greater.
And one that I bought.
Yes.
That was the thing about this episode that I did like. There were.
No,
a lot of it didn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't have a clue what happened to Merlin and how this. I don't understand any of that.
Yeah.
But we've always thought that Emma had a reason. That was, she thought she was doing the right thing.
But it's messed up.
It wasn't evil.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, and this was one that I totally bought.
Yeah.
It made sense to me. And I was glad that it was something.
I didn't know you could double the Dark Ones. But
double the Dark One, double the fun?
Yeah, exactly.
Double the
gum. Second time we've made Natasha roll her eyes this episode. We're on a roll. But
in the category of things I wish it would foreshadow.
I did real quick.
Yeah,
I did think they foreshadowed the hook thing pretty well.
Which what hook thing?
Well, just in this episode, that I had a hunch early on that
off with him.
Yeah, well, that something she might be doing it to save. I don't remember what gave me the
they did do a good job with that.
But it's like, I wonder if it's going.
But did I miss the part where like Excalibur does wounds that can't be healed?
I don't think they had mentioned that before.
See, that's a big deal, you know.
Things that drive me nuts.
And it's weird though, especially if it doesn't heal, why it didn't wasn't horribly painful right away.
And this is like, again, saving Killian's a great idea, you know, all that sort of stuff. The kind of twisted but makes sense plan of putting it all into Zelina and then killing her and getting her to the Dark. Okay, these all make sense within time logic. But it's the same thing that happened when they did the Nimue being the first Dark One, is that things just happen so quick, like very conveniently and quickly. Like, I just drank the chalice when you weren't looking and I didn't disappear. Or, yes, it doesn't, the wounds are mortal and I just happened to fall down right when you're doing this main thing. You know, it's just
that one, it's because he was wounded with only a piece of Excalibur when he was.
Oh, you're true. Okay, you're right. I meant you. They did say that.
It's still one of those things that
just tell us somewhere.
They make the audience come up with the reason why these things should work, which isn't the way it's supposed to be.
No, and I think they did mention about why when she was doing it, but you know, maybe they mentioned previously that the wound it breaks stuff it can, but it's just one of those things Anyways, it'd be nice to have a little more.
The darkness that's coming out of Merlin.
Yeah, that was weird. Was it his life force or something?
And why was it black? I don't understand any of what came out of Merlin.
And maybe I missed it, but they rattle a lot of stuff off very quickly. I'm just like, what?
Was it because Merlin was being controlled by Excalibur?
That might have been it, because that was it, yeah.
Again, that makes some sense, except for Zelina just can magically make people Dark Ones then? By, attaching them to swords?
No. I think she was revealing that apparently
No.
Hook's thing was always there.
No. I know that.
But Merlin was attached to Excalibur, and then maybe that's
what Zelina did last week.
Oh, with Merlin's own spell. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So somehow that creates another Dark One where the Dark One is only made when actually just this one girl did this bad thing one time.
With the Prometheus flame. Yeah.
The Dark One stuff is awful. I mean, their mythology on the Dark One is so scattered that it doesn't work.
That's a good point. Because last episode we just assumed that it was just another sword sealing sort of thing. We didn't realize Merlin was actually a Dark One.
Well, is he though?
He is. He was just controlled by it. I don't know how that makes Killian an actual Dark One then.
Yeah.
Because they did not.
But the Prometheus flame has something to do with that, doesn't it? Isn't that what?
This is the problem. We have to make up the reasons these work instead of the writers.
But okay,
The writers probably listen to podcasts like this to come up with, that's the reason we did that. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, I do know they said something during the whole Excalibur thing that I missed. They said it very quickly.
It was sort of like Doctor Who,
Yeah.
like speed talking, except without the benefit of it being British.
Yeah.
It's like if we're still not understanding. They're speaking like American English. There's way too many plot minutia and objects to keep. Like I was trying to remember what is squidding, because I knew that was some magic item they had done before.
You're not a big enough fan, Tim.
I've only watched like every episode of the season once.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really.
I don't ever plan on watching them more than once. I might not be good for the.
Occasionally, I feel like it would be fun to go back to the first season. Which, for that note, I really love seeing Dr. Wales.
Dr. Wales, they play that so great. Emma changed your hair. Why can't I?
Which is great because he's on iZombie. He's the main bad guy on iZombie, and he's a zombie. That's why his hair is that color. Or at least that's, I assume it's because...
we need another doctor in this
Which
town.
is really funny considering he's Dr. Frankenstein actually in this show.
That's true. That's even more humorous.
But, I'm never fond of the whole, crazy magic/alien baby that grows too fast and comes out. I mean, which happens in all kinds of shows. But if you're going to try to get rid of this whole pregnancy plot line and do something, move it forward, it's not a bad way to do it, honestly.
It worked for me.
It worked. Yeah, it worked. No, it worked fine. I mean, that thing I just don't like in general, just as a more of a just squeamish sort of thing. It's just weird as opposed to being a plot device. But we don't have to bring Falling Skies in here. But I'm just what? Okay.
Oh, they always do it.
But yeah, but that's a personal preference. But other than that, it integrated Zelina really well. It was a neat way to see Emma's plan, and it made sense on an emotional level.
It moved the plot forward very nicely. I'm glad we didn't have to wait till the season finale to get some of those answers.
Mm-hmm. We're getting answers now with with Dreamcatcher stuff and
which she I don't know why she left them so out there, but
maybe they'll explain that. So,
but all right, well, we have one more episode for tonight, so we better
get cracking
on it.
Go Kraken!
We just finished The Bear King.
The Bear King. In the Hall of the Bear King. That's not how it works, is it?
No, not really. Well, I think we know now why they paired this, because no one would have cared about this episode otherwise. Okay, I mean...
But it wasn't bad. It
just
didn't fit in with anything.
No, it was very odd because they'd the last episode was a major cliffhanger. And then this was
all the B-roll characters, basically, or the B.
You feel you could have a Mulan, Merida, Red, Charlie's Angels in Enchanted Forest sort of spin-off.
It would be kind of nice, if Once Upon a Time was more of an anthology show where you had random stories about people around their various worlds. This episode kind of would have been, more. But I just kind of sat through the whole thing this is boring. I want to know what's going on with the Dark One stuff.
This would have made more sense near the beginning of the season where we just met Merida. We haven't talked to Merida. We haven't done much with Merida in a while. This would have made sense the second episode or right near the beginning when we were introduced to Merida and do this neat flashback thing from Merida, but now we don't care about her.
Yeah.
And it's all a ploy to get... This one is entirely a setup to get more Mulan for the politically correct crowd. It is.
Yeah.
When she left, I don't. Will we see her again? I mean, she's.
Yes, I guarantee it.
It's also set up to get Merida to do something crazy with Arthur.
Yeah, I think they couldn't put this episode earlier, but they didn't know where to put it because it doesn't really.
Well, it should have gone.
It probably should have gone before the last one, though. At the very least,
I think
there's stuff about releasing. Well,
the only
last one had Arthur and
Yeah.
Zelena escaping together to this place. So,
But at the same time, it's like Zelena, her presence there is not entirely crucial to the plot. You could have done this one like maybe after the previous Merida one, be a follow-up to the Merida and Belle stuff. But I really feel like they stuck it here because they wanted to do more with Merida, but they knew they were going to have this one odd week where they would show 2 episodes, and to not have to keep people waiting to go back to the Dark One story. Not as long. If apparently there'll still be 2 weeks until the next episode.
I was trying to think. We always like on Hijack. We often talk about Lost when we're not in TV season, and sometimes they'll get a plot line and then go and interrupt it with a different sort of plot line. But I don't know if I know one that's so directly like you set up this. We're going to talk about this next episode, and then
take a complete left turn,
and then it has nothing at all really to do with it. It was just a very odd.
I guess it's because if you think of the current seasons of Lost, these little mini arcs being more comparable to the later seasons of Lost, the 3 shorter seasons that were like really tightly done. I don't think they really had time to do that. Maybe in like the first 3 seasons where you could
circle. You have a van that would come down.
A whole episode about starting up a van, or Nikki and Paulo's crazy little episode. But those seasons are not nearly as tightly wound as the later seasons, or as these story
and
arcs
these arcs generally been pretty tightly wound. Generally,
I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't planned for a long 2-week thing and doing double. If this seems like it would have worked better had you had a week break between episodes. You wouldn't have had that. Like just recently, Walking Dead did this. They had a major character that we think killed. We're not positive. The next week's episode was totally a story about someone completely different, and then they came back to it the next one. And to me,
it wouldn't
have been as annoying if you had a week break, and this would have. Because I think what they are trying to stall for the winter finale.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of filler to it, obviously.
But I think this episode would have worked better had you had a week break, and we wouldn't have just watched the previous episode and been like, but I don't care about this. I want to know something.
that could be.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it was cool to see Red again. I don't like the implications of where they're going with it. I mean, even if it was all unstated. But I mean,
they gave her a long flashback for how she left Storybrooke.
Yeah, which
I was actually pleased with.
It was funny. We actually paused it because we were like, how did Red get here from Storybrooke? And Natasha, you had thought that they had shown her leaving Storybrooke before.
I thought they had shown her at one point.
You sure didn't read that in Entertainment or something?
No, I have like this vague memory.
Oh.
But it's interesting. In Norton, they just talked those things. And they gave this full
I guess
flashback.
Maybe there's this contract to have snow in every episode, so they needed a scene with her.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, I mean, relatively solid episode. Just completely.
Yeah, I mean,
just like you said, if it was an anthology or if it was more like a first season, we're just kind of seeing the backgrounds of different people or something.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't.
It's kind of fun to see Fergus, but
it wasn't bad. I never have. I'm a little prejudiced. I don't think stories about royalty being worthy to be royalty are inherently very interesting. Personally, like I don't know. Like I feel like Narnia did it best, where basically you just have a conversation. Peter has a conversation with Aslan. It's like, look, I don't think I'm fit to be king. I was like, that means you are, and then they just move on. When they drag out the whole process, and then it becomes a big self-esteem thing. It just annoys me.
There's another of those episodes where, occasionally Arthur, like his one episode where he's like, that was his flashback. We're like, oh, that's interesting. Since then, he's descended back into sort of Dick Dastardly sort of
cartoonish,
territory.
basically, yeah.
It's like, okay, guy.
In the previous episode, he had quite the run when he was getting his butt kicked.
I know, he
Didn't he also have superpowers and being able to just rip off?
Selena is a magical,
magical tape.
He just boom. So poor. He's just Arthur could have been interesting.
Arthur's been manhandled. He's almost descended into Monty Python territory.
Yeah. And so he's so desperate for his kingdom and everything. Like, I need I came and killed lots of people looking for a sword, and I came and stole your helmet because I need to lead my soldiers. I mean, he's like a horrible, horrible king on every level.
Yeah.
But,
Merlin must just be a horrible judge of character. The prophecies are just like they went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
It's just
Or I mean, I guess you could theorize maybe he went wrong because of the prophecies in a sense. You know, there's some people think that
Macbeth sort of deal.
Yeah, you foretell too much someone that you're a chosen one or whatever, and then they get head full of yeah. But anyway, kind of a mixed bag of Once Upon a Time tonight.
And we'll be off next week, right?
I guess so.
Or is who on next week?
Well, we'll still have Doctor Who.
Okay.
I guess no Once Upon a Time, but this is a little weird for them taking a week break. It seems like
Especially not why wouldn't we take Thanksgiving weekend break off?
yeah, why not do it after Thanksgiving as opposed to
That doesn't
before?
make sense, but
ABC, you're confusing. Maybe they have something going on next week.
they might.
Anyway,
The great holiday baking show or something.
could be. But thanks for listening and putting up with our whining. Hopefully it was entertaining.
hey,
Yes.
if they've watched the show, they probably have done their own. If they watch the show and still listen to this, they agree with us on most of this whining.
That's probably true. But make sure you listen into Derailed Trains of Thought sometime where there's usually much less whining.
Yes, and
Unless Nick's talking about Battlestar Galactica.
well, yeah, that happens.
More lame music, though.
Don't listen to
We
Zach.
should have soundtracks in the middle of Hijack. No.
Anyway, until
All right.
next time, this is Tim.
This is Nick.
Bye.